Many visitors to the Peak District will be familiar with the beautiful Ladybower Reservoir, one of 3 reservoirs in the upper Derwent Valley close to Bamford Village. Ladybower Reservoir is the largest and newest of the reservoirs, the other 2 being the more remote but equally picturesque Derwent Reservoir and Howden Reservoir. The 3 reservoirs cover almost 200 square kilometers between them, and have a staggering combined capacity of 464 billion liters of water. Ladybower Reservoir was built between 1935 and 1943, and it took a further 2 years to fill. At the time of its construction, it was the largest reservoir in Britain. What many visitors may not realize, however, is that 2 small but thriving Peak District villages were flooded in the process of building Ladybower Reservoir, the villages of Derwent and Ashop. Derwent had twisting streets of pretty cottages, alongside which the River Derwent flowed under stone bridges. It had a small but tight-knit community, with a number of houses and a school. The village church of St. John and St. James was built in 1757 and seated 140 parishioners. The village of Derwent also boasted a graceful country manor house, Derwent Hall, built in 1672. Derwent Hall was an impressive building. At one point, it was owned by the Duke of Norfolk, and stood in magnificent gardens with ornamental trees and a large fish pond. Ashopton was larger and busier than being located on the main road between Sheffield and Glossop, and standing at a crossroads where a journey could be broken. It had a large, bustling coaching inn, the Ashopton Inn, which was just as popular with visiting tourists as it was with local villagers. Ashopton also had a post office and general store, a Wesleyan Methodist chapel, a garage and numerous pretty stone houses and farms. Its industry was largely based on farming, and an annual wool fair was held in the village every July. The buildings of Derwent and Ashopton were purchased compulsorily by the Derwent Valley Water Board between 1935 and 1945. Despite much local opposition, the villagers were moved on and rehoused close to the village of Bamford. The bodies of their relatives were exhumed from the churchyards, and all the buildings were reduced to rubble. The Church of St. John and St. James in Derwent held its final service on the 17th of March, 1943, the final service at the Wesleyan Methodist Chapel in Ashopton was held on the 25th of September 1939, with the last hymn reportedly being "The Days Dying in the West." The chapel was demolished in 1943. The remains of both villages disappeared under the waters as Ladybower Reservoir was filled in. 1945, after the demolition of the Church of St. John and St. James in Derwent. Its graceful spire was left intact as a memorial to the village. For more than a year, the spire rose eerily out of the water, until it too was demolished in 1947. The beautiful 17th century packhorse bridge that once spanned the river Derwent, close to Derwent Hall, also still stands. It was removed stone by stone when the hall was demolished and rebuilt at the head of Howden Reservoir in 1959, in an area known as Slippery Stones. It is now a scheduled ancient monument.